So today we're going to make charro beans in the Instant Pot. Charro beans are those delicious beans that you get at any Mexican restaurant, and I'm going to make some at home. So the first thing you're going to do is turn your Instant Pot on sauté or whatever kind of pressure cooker you have. And then we are going to chop up some bacon and get it going while we're chopping up our other vegetables. So we're just going to cut up this bacon. Doesn't have to be perfect because it'll come apart in the Instant Pot when it's sauteing. So just chop, 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 and stick him back on the plate. So I like to use a different cutting board for the meat versus the vegetables. So that's why you see me on this little cutting board for the bacon, and then I've got my vegetables on my big one. Alright. So we have got the meat ready. I'm going to give my hands a quick wash. Now, I know some people will say to wait till the saute gets to hot, and it'll say hot right here. I like to go ahead and throw mine in now with a little bit of olive oil, because when it says hot, it is like scorching hot. And I just prefer to go ahead and do it now. Rinse that knife off. Okay, so this recipe calls for a really large onion, which I've already chopped. So you probably want at least a cup, if not a cup and a half, of chopped onion. And you want 1 green bell pepper. So we're going to chop him up real quick. This recipe goes together pretty quickly. And the great thing about this is you can put this in the Instant Pot. It's only going to take an hour to cook, but we're going to leave it in there all day long on the warm setting and just let all those flavors melt together, and it will be delicious. And we're actually going to get a couple different recipes out of this. So charro beans you can eat by themselves, but I like to take them and use an immersion blender and blend them up a little bit, and then bam, you have got homemade refried beans. So because this is going to sit and cook for so long, I don't really care if my chop is super small because they're going to get soft anyway when they're cooking. So there is our green pepper chopped up. And the jalapeños, you can use 1 to 2. We're going to use 2 today. I'm going to take the seeds out of them. I like the flavor of jalapeno. I don't necessarily want to set myself ablaze with the seeds, so we're going to chop the top, cut it in half. So all of the heat in the jalapeno is going to be in the seeds and then this rib right here. So we're going to pull that out and put it in our trash bowl. And if you have a couple left in there, it's going to be fine. Do the same thing with the other one. Alright, and then we're just going to chop those. I'm going to do just a little bit finer chop on these probably than I did my green peppers. And as you can hear, my bacon's starting to cook. Alright. So I'm just going to chop these a little bit smaller here. Just because I don't want to be eating these and get a huge hunk of jalapeno. It's not going to be spicy, but it'll just look better and taste better. So there is our jalapeno. And this is what I like to do, so just chopping it. Definitely doesn't have to be perfect. And we're just going to mix it over here with our green pepper. And I'm just going to stir around the bacon. Just kind of spread it out. It doesn't 100% have to be cooked all the way. We just kind of want to get a little bit of brown on it. We're basically wanting to render the fat out of it so it will flavor our beans. So that is what we were doing. So I like to let it just go ahead and cook the whole time I'm cutting the vegetables and getting those ready. Alright, and then I'm going to chop up my other jalapeno. So if you don't have fresh jalapenos, because for whatever reason here lately I've had a super hard time finding these things, You can absolutely use a pickled jalapeno, like the rings that you get in the jar. So it's going to give it a little bit of a different flavor. They're definitely not spicy at all, but hey, if you're in a hurry, just throw probably a half a cup of those in there, chop them up real quick, and then you can be out the door no time flat. Which is what I'm doing today. We've got kind of a busy day today, so I'm wanting to get this in the Instant Pot and get it going, and then I'm going to run out of the house and be gone all day and just let these sit and simmer. So when we get back home for supper tonight, it will be delicious, and my house is probably going to smell amazing. So, all right. So there we go. There's your peppers and your jalapenos. Now I'm going to wash my hands. I definitely don't want to stick my finger in my eye with jalapenos on it. That's not going to feel very good. Alright, so I have a whole bag of dried pinto beans that I have been soaking for 24 hours. And as you can see, they're nice and full, which is exactly what we want. So all you're going to do is throw these in a colander. You're going to rinse them off and literally just put them in a bowl, fill it up with water, set it on your counter, leave it for 24 to 36 hours. So we're going to dump these in our colander. And we are going to give them a good rinse. Also, so the longer that you soak the beans, I'll let these go probably about 36 hours. Does kind of help with the stomach issues that can occur if you're not used to eating a lot of beans. Kind of helps get that extra out of there. Alright. So those are ready. I want to check on my bacon. Looks like it's doing good. So, we're going to go ahead and throw all of our vegetables in here. So let's get the onions in. Don't want to leave any behind there. And let's get the peppers and jalapenos in there. Alright. So I'm going to pull this over. Just give this a quick stir. And I can tell you this smells absolutely amazing. Alright. So that looks great. There's definitely enough grease rendered from the bacon that it's coated all the vegetables. And you can see that my green vegetables have quickly started to turn, which is exactly what we want to see. So right now I'm going to hit cancel on the Instant Pot right here, turning it off, and we're going to go ahead and put our beans in. Alright. So this recipe calls for a pound of beans, which is usually one bag, so 16 ounces. So that's what I've got in here. And now we are going to go ahead and put in the rest of our ingredients, which is 4 cups of chicken broth, a can of green chilies, and a can of diced tomatoes, and some garlic. So I like to use this Better Than Bouillon for my chicken stock or chicken broth. For one, it's easier. If you don't have a ton of space, all it takes is this jar, and you mix it with water, and you've got chicken broth. So for me, that's just what I like to have on hand. So I'm going to put in 4 cups of water. And then I am going to put in, let's see, probably about 2 tablespoons of this. And you're just going to dump it right in the pot. And as the water starts to get hot, it will melt down into that water, kind of dissolve. And then bam, you got chicken broth. Just that easy. Not to mention, it's a lot more flavorful than the regular chicken broth that you get in the box at the grocery store. So it's what I like to do. I buy it at Costco. You can get a huge container for I don't know, definitely less than $10, and this will make a ton of chicken broth. Okay, so we have a can of diced green chilies that we're going to throw in. And a can of just diced tomatoes. You can also substitute a can of Rotel if you want. It's not something I usually have, but I usually have diced green chilies and diced tomatoes. Same difference, so we're going to drop that in. You can use garlic cloves or powdered garlic. You're always going to see me use powdered garlic for some reason. Not a big fan of garlic cloves. So I'm going to sprinkle in probably about a teaspoon. All right. All right, so salt and pepper. Going to give it a good sprinkle. You're going to want to put 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt. Just depends on what your preference is with salt. You can definitely add more when it comes out, so I like to err on the side of caution. Put a little bit less in. I'm definitely going to go in with about a half a teaspoon of pepper. And we're going to give that a stir. Now you will see in the description below that this recipe calls for fresh cilantro, and we are absolutely going to put that in, but I like to wait until the end and put it in. And it's absolutely something that you don't want to skip. It's going to add that extra touch to it. So, I've gave it a good stir. I've got everything in there. Fun fact, if you have a problem getting your rings to seal on your Instant Pot lid, keep them in the freezer. It's where I keep all of mine. All the time. So we're just going to push it in like this. Kind of wiggle it around. Make sure it's sealed good. We're going to pop our lid on. Make sure it's in the sealing position. And then we're going to come over. Hit any button you want. You just need to put this on 60 minutes or 1 hour. And that's basically it. You're going to let it sit there. It's definitely one of those recipes that I would start in the morning and just let it sit there all day long so that way the flavors kind of melt together. And that's charro beans. We'll see you back when they're done. Our charro beans have cooked. As you can see, they've been in here. They finished cooking for an hour and they've been sitting in the Instant Pot for almost 4 hours. So we are going to take the lid off. Set that out of the way. And you can see that these are absolutely delicious. So the only thing we need to do right now is finish it off with some fresh cilantro. Don't skip this step. I think it's super important to give it that extra bit of flavor. So we're just going to chop up the cilantro. Don't really want big pieces. I'm going to chop it up kind of small. Alright, that ought to do it. We're going to drop this in the pot. We're going to give it a good stir. Just let it incorporate in there. And you can call it done at this point. Just grab a bowl. Get your little soup ladle. Put you some charro beans in there. Maybe you want to be extra fancy, garnish it with a little cilantro, and bam. That can be supper. So the second thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and make our own refried beans, which, believe it or not, is actually super easy. So I'm going to get some beans out of the pot. The only thing you need to have here is a tall bowl. And I'm going to drop some beans down in here. Probably about 2.5 cups of beans. And then I'm going to get just a little bit of liquid, because trust me, you don't need a charro bean bath here. We're going to put just a little bit in there. All you need is a little bit of liquid. I've got just a basic immersion blender. And you're going to stick it down in here, and you want to push it all the way to the bottom of the bowl. Make sure you're holding your bowl. We're just going to do it on low. And we're just going to pick it up and move it around. And it's not going to look like the right consistency of refried beans yet. And that's okay. Just keep moving it around. Alright, so we have those mixed up, and now that we have a liquid we can work with, we're just going to add some more of our beans without the liquid. And let's do about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of beans without liquid. Get those good bits of bacon and jalapeno in here. Alright, so same thing, we're going to stick it on the bottom, do it on low. Just kind of mix it around as you go. And make it the consistency that you like. You can see that we're a little bit thicker now, kind of more like a refried bean. And there you go. You've got refried beans. So you can let these sit in the fridge and they'll actually thicken up a little bit. You can serve them just like this. And there you go. That's how you can make charro beans, refried beans. The other cool thing you can do with this, because it does make a lot, if you're not going to eat it all, you can freeze this. It freezes beautifully. And that is all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the charro bean recipe. If you did, please make sure to give us a like, drop us a comment, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time on Cook Around and Find Out.